Okay, so we got Politico being horrified over the fact that young Republican groups throughout the country are posting vile stuff on Telegram, saying that they love the Hitler, saying that they like the gas chambers, comparing people of color and marginalized folks with animals. I mean, you can see on the page, right? Like Politico is showing us what the young GOP leaders are doing in their free time. And so, before we even wonder how did we get to this place, we have to wonder Politico's reach. They seem to be incapable of finding out what happens on the internet. And so I'm a little bit puzzled why they don't also say stuff about Hassan Piker. You know, like opinion influencers on the left that are mainstream. And the stuff they're saying is actually far worse than this. Because Hassan doesn't seem to be joking. Like he's actually serious when he says that he wants to see the streets covered with the rivers of blood of capitalists. Or other stuff that I can't even say on this platform. Okay, because I would get banned. Like, I can show this on this platform. I can paraphrase some of the things Hassan is saying, but like, even I have limits. And so, when you live in a society where you have people with millions of subscribers that say stuff like that, it kind of normalizes that kind of stuff, don't you think? So we can't really act surprised when you see people on the opposite end of the scale having a similar rhetoric, but about other things. Like, I'm just saying, you know, so, like, I'm curious, like, why does Politico not include the context? Like, why don't they make an article about political extremism as a whole? Why do they pick and choose? And so it leads me to assume that maybe they don't have readers, maybe people aren't funding them, and so they don't have enough reporters to know what's going on the internet. You know, maybe they don't go on Blue Sky, maybe they don't go Reddit to see how people were cheering about the death of Charlie Kirk. Maybe that's why. But okay, let's analyze what the young Republicans are saying here. None of this would surprise anyone that used the 2014 era of the internet. So literally less than a decade ago, if you saw this on the internet, it would be, well, I mean, it's the internet, you know, like, obviously, when people see letters on a screen, like, they're desensitized. It's not the same like talking in person. And so, like, most would understand. I do like the fact that Politico at least understands that these are jokes. Right, because like 3 years ago they would have treated them like their declarations of war, but now they're basically saying, okay, well, these are jokes, so it's still unacceptable. But at least that they're not assuming that this is what the leaders of the GOP want to do. But you know, like it begs the question. Okay, fine. Like, how did it come to this? Like, why are people using this type of vile rhetoric that, by the way, doesn't really exist in Europe? And I even think that in the United States, back in 2010 or 2015 or so, this rhetoric didn't exist at the leadership level of any of the political parties, right? Like, they would have spoken a little bit more nicely, I suppose, and even the level of jokes would be different. Right? So, like, how did it get to this? Well, it gets to this because, as we've been saying since I started my channel, censorship does not work. Censorship is like hiding the dust under the carpet. Like, for a couple of minutes, it looks good, right? And if you only hide a little bit of dust, maybe it works. But when you constantly, like, put the trash under the carpet, at some point, it looks like a molehill. And this is what happened in the America. You had the woke people moving in, and they took control of the academia, they took control of the online commercials, they took control over video games, over comic books, over TV shows, over anything. Almost like every single aspect of American society was anti-racist. Billions of dollars were poured into this program to make people anti-racist. And this is the result. Is anyone going to be held accountable? You know, like, is any anti-racist organization going to be asked, like, okay, well, what did you do with the money? Like I'm looking at your performance level, pretty fucking shit, right? Is any Democrat politician that ran on an anti-racist platform going to be called to account by its own constituency? Like, how is this happening? Like, we trusted you. You restricted some of our liberties. You censored the internet, and this is the result. How did you fuck up this badly? And the answer is, like, well, yeah, like, censorship does not work. I remember, like, during the last decade, every time, like, some right-winger got canceled or some political commentator got suppressed, and they immediately said, see, censorship works, debanking works. No, it fucking doesn't. No, it doesn't. It worked for then, like a couple of, for a couple of seconds it works, yeah, sure, but as time moves on, it makes the situation worse. They caused resentment with the young generation. Imagine going to school as a boy and being told that you're evil because you're a straight white man, and all straight white men are inherently evil because of their ancestors. You're told that you have no culture. You're told that you're part of a systemic racist project, right? If you look at Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, that's what they taught young kids, right? That they're evil, that they're bad. And then they get to see their friends getting censored on social media. And then they get censored on social media and everyone is cheering and laughing. And then they see the free speech guy, Charlie Kirk, getting shot. And they go on Reddit and Blue Sky and everyone is cheering and laughing. What do you think that does to a person? Like, the main problem with most individuals in society is that they don't have kids. And those that do have kids, they usually have one. But if you have two kids, and you constantly mistreat one of them while you treat the other one very nicely, you're going to cause a lot of resentment between the brothers. You're going to cause a lot of strife. This is what you're causing. And not to mention, like, when you treat the adults like children, like you infantilize them, remove them from the conversation, not care about any of their grievances, refuse to negotiate on anything. You're incredibly rigid, strict. Well, when the other people get into power, they will chimp out because, like, there's no reason for them to show any type of decency. People forget Trump already won an election cycle, and the left was constantly heckling, Russiagate, 2 scoops of ice cream, constant humiliation, showing him decapitated. Like, you had a comedian that, Kathy Griffin, I think her name was, and she had a prop of Donald Trump being decapitated and showing the head to the screen. And back then, the right-wingers were actually hitting the brakes. They were like, okay, fine, like, no, this is too much. Yeah, we can't do this. Mean tweets, tone policing. That happened, right? And what were the results? The results were the Biden administration, where they treated people that trespassed under January 6th as if they were terrorists. They decided to purge radical extremism from the internet, which targeted, like, various groups that, in my opinion, shouldn't have been targeted, like the Men Going Their Own Way group and other ridiculous shit like this. They went after entertainment, like trying to ban and censor people. And that creates animosity, that creates spite. And when the pendulum swung back, this is what you're getting. And on top of that, they will say it's whataboutery, but as I mentioned before, you have the Hassan Pikers. And Hassan Piker isn't just one person, right? Like, there's university professors like him, there's journalists like him, there's a lot of people that are like him. They're not just, they're not as well known, right? They don't have, like, millions of fans on Twitch. But the rhetoric is actually dialed up to 11. Like, they're extremely enraged, and they're tolerated by the left. And so, again, like, this normalizes extremist rhetoric. Like, the only way to fight with extremism is with other extremism. No one wants to dial down the volume. And so, it's what you get. Obviously, this is going to normalize after a while. Like, you're not going to see, like, this level of edge 10 years from now. I guarantee you. It's just, like, how human history works. But this is how far the pendulum has gone. And yes, you have it at the leadership of the GOP. And probably, I'm not saying, like, if the rhetoric doesn't go down, then eventually, when the Democrats do win elections, I assume, like, the last election wasn't the last one in American history, and while the Republicans may win the next one, and maybe even the one after that, at some point the Democrats will win, right? And it will also depend, like, how was the rhetoric before the Republicans lost. If the rhetoric was also unhinged and extremist, then the Democrats are going to be even more unhinged and even more extremist. And yes, it is possible. I mean, if you don't think that the Democrats can be even worse than they have been up until now, I mean, look at Britain. And you can see examples of what's happening there, so you can know what to expect. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.